has a lot of information regarding the status of women in Israel, and particularly in the Arab sector. And now it's my great pleasure to call upon our youngest panelist. She looks like my daughter, Hiba Zaidan. Hiba was born and raised in Daliyat al-Karmel, a Druze village high on the slopes of Israel. It's Mount Carmel. And Hiba obtained her high school diploma in a new old Druze High School of Science and Leadership in the village of Yarka in the Galilee. She was the first graduating class of this school. Hiba obtained her BA in psychology from the University of Haifa in 2008 and her MA with summa cum laude. Bravo, Hiba. She is currently finishing her first year of PhD and has received an honors scholarships. She is currently involved in examining the mechanism of transgenerational stress effect on gene expression and behavior. My goodness, wow. Her workplace, where she conducts and plans experiments as laboratory administrator of psychology in the Haifa University laboratories. Outside the laboratory, Hiba dedicates her time to volunteer promoting academic education for high school students. In addition, she takes time to assist new students from her village in the enrollment and admissions process to colleges and universities. So she's definitely a young leader. Hiba, the floor is yours.
First thing, I am very happy to be here. I didn't know that such a conference existed before, so I am very happy to be here. And thank you very much for inviting me. To be able to tell you my story, I have to tell you first about the Druze women and about the first woman that take this step to take the journey to be an academic woman. So it made it for me to be more easy to do it today. First of all, Druze women are entitled to equal rights according to Druze religious law. Polygamy is not allowed, and women as well as men can initiate divorce. Women can attend, like men, high position in religion, and Druze women have always had the right to own and dispose of property freely. When our society was more conservative, the women's role was not only housewives and mother, but they worked alongside men in the fields and helped with their crafts and social events. Before the establishment of the State of Israel, women usually learned to read or write from another woman, usually a family member, so that they could read the religious texts. After Israel independence in 1948, the first former elementary school in Osifia and Daliyat al-Karmel were opened. Girls and boys were separated up to 8th grade. And even then, many families did not send their daughters because of social pressure and the change that women education may bring. The first girl to graduate from this school was in 1958. The difficulty that women that wanted to pursue education had. There was no transportation. According to traditional norms, a woman may not leave her village without the accompaniment of a male family member. And then they were not allowed to obtain a licensed driver. The first woman to drive was in 1978, and it wasn't very welcome change then. As a minority, we are afraid of change and those that bring it. Usually those that bring this change are outcast, social sanction. And why learn something you cannot use in the village? You can learn sewing, and it's a craft you can use in the village. In 1964, Dumya Aweda, who became the first Druze inspector of non-Jewish kindergarten after finishing school in her village in Osifia, and despite religious restriction, was sent by her father to study at private boarding school for girls in Nasra. But due to social pressure and religious restriction, had to discontinue her studies. In 1966, he continued her studies in a school in Haifa, where she studied for 2 years. She even joined Mabam, a United Workers' Party, and with their help, she opened the first women club in Osifia. Club activities included social gatherings, lectures, workshops, and promoting the status of women. In 1970, Dumya enrolled in Arab Teacher Training College in Haifa, despite the fact that she could have started working as a teacher immediately after high school, as other village teachers did. The enrollment in the college again aroused the indignation of the community, and its youth leadership from Karmel and Galil sent a delegation to the college to meet its head, Mr. Eliyahu Cohen, and his deputy, Mr. Najib Nabwan, and requested not to accept Dumya. It seemed to them contrary to religion and Druze tradition, but she continued her studies nonetheless. This was back then a very big deal, not only to us, but apparently to the world, as you can see here. A number of articles were writing about her life, her studies, and her public activity, and her fight, of course. But there were other problems. She and the other girls who continued their studies, their academic journey, faced difficulties finding work and being accepted as a worker like men. How to go to work if it isn't in the village, and especially they being not able to drive. These women paved the way for us to be able to go to the academic. Today, even religious women began to go to seek education, and with time it's becoming more acceptable. Today, it's accepted for women to go to university, and it's a big deal if I own a car, which I do. As you can see, in 1995, only 33% from all Druze students were women. Today, it's about 70%. Now I will continue to my story. My mother discontinued her studies in 7th grade because of her family. My father also did not finish school beyond 10th grade. Because of that, it was important for them that I continue my education. When I wanted to begin my first year in high school in 2003, a new old Druze high school opened with the support of the Ministry of Education and the Rashi Foundation in the village Yirka in the Galil. This school aims was to cultivate a highly educated, socially aware generation of Druze citizens who can contribute to Israel academic and research spheres. I applied to the school in Yirka, was tested and accepted. My mother was against it, mainly because of the distance. But when I accepted to the school, the first thing she did was to take me with my father to buy a cell phone. The first year there was very hard. My friend and I were the only ones from my village. And my accent, dialect, the way I speak was very noticeable, and I got teased a lot because of that. Because we are Druze from different villages, have different norms and different accents. But by the end of the first year, we accepted our difference and we were united. School life was very rewarding and very difficult in the same time. I had to wake at 6 a.m. in the morning, and if I'm lucky, be at home by 6. In time to do my homework, say goodnight to my family, and sleep. The requirement and expectation were huge, just huge. The school and the principal, Mr. Asad Arai, they brought a lot of change. We participated in courses over the summer in the Technion, and in creative thinking, spoken English. We were taken to museums all over Israel, and we even participated in several overnight field trips to Eilat and Jerusalem. Usually in field trips, boys can stay overnight and girls have to go home and come back or go to other trips. But the school held meetings with parents individually when needed until they convinced them all, and all the girls could go to these trips. My girlfriends from my village did not go to this overnight trip and stayed home. This problem continued to be today. My brother this year went to his last school field trip with his classmate without the girls. With the help of the school and my family, I was able to get the highest score in the psychometric test in my school and was accepted to study psychology in the University of Haifa. I was fascinated in psychology after several meetings with the different psychologists in the school arranged. Fresh from high school straight to the university. I had difficulties there. Getting there for one, because of transportation problem, 3 buses a day. I didn't have someone to consult and ask for the little things like rooms, library, but more importantly, it was the first time I was in a new environment that mainly spoke Hebrew. That made me feel different. My Hebrew is good, but being put in the spot to constantly use it in assignment and in speech was very hard, and a lot of times I didn't find the right words to express myself, which frustrated me. It was different word for me, and I felt alone, but one thing I learned there is never to be afraid to ask for help. After that, in my second year and after, I had new students from my village and my friends in their enrollment, and the little things that I had needed help when I first came to the university. By my last year in the BA, I volunteered in the Israel Ministry of Defense Families of Fallen Soldiers Department, and I also worked in the Human Test Lab in the university. Both of them were very important experience for me because they give me insight to what's really in the real world, what's mean to be a psychologist. The lab research exposed me to different perspectives of psychology that I didn't know existed. The experience encouraged me to pursue my studies in this field. Many of my families and friends ask me until today what it means to be, what you mean to become if you are in this field. I'm expected to study to find work like teacher, maybe child psychology, and or work in office, or maybe a nurse, which is a new acceptable occupation. But what does it mean to be a researcher? A lot of my people in my village and my friends don't understand. I began my MA under the supervision of Dr. Ina Geisler Salomon, as you can see here, and my Professor Michalishan, that is here too, in the field of behavioral neuroscience, and also began to work as lab administrator. My work and studies focused on animal model of the transgenerational effect of stress, how the stress experienced by women, by mothers during their lives before pregnancy can affect their children and grandchildren, and what mechanism can explain these changes. One of the expectations of a researcher or student in this field is to present his research in scientific conference. However, attending conference often means staying overnight. I remind you, this is not a simple matter. I discussed this with my family and both my supervisors. And so I went to my first conference in Eilat, accompanied by my mother, which is here with me today. We got there by bus, and I did attend there, and I presented my research. My mother was very embarrassed. Since then, I have been to several conferences alone or accompanied by my family or friends. And this year, I even drove to conference in biological psychiatry in the Gushrim by my own car alone. In 2011, I was interviewed in Arabic by Science magazine about my research on Israeli TV. Only then the magazines in my village took interest in me and interviewed me. Last year, there was an international conference in Barcelona for 8 days. I really wanted to go, but going to conference in Israel maybe become more accepted. Going abroad without a male family member is not done. It took a lot of discussion with my parents and with my supervisor, Dr. Ina Geisler Salomon. Where will I stay? How will I travel? All the little technical questions until it was accepted, and I traveled for the first time in my life abroad to Barcelona, where I enjoyed the sightseeing as much as the lectures. And it was a wonderful experience for me because I met a lot of the people that I read their articles and use them in my own research. For me, it was like meeting movie stars. This year, I was awarded my MA degree, and my first professional article was published. I'm certainly finishing my first year in my PhD studies and received an honor scholarship. My project continues to examine the mechanism for transgenerational effects on gene expression and behavior, and I hope to continue my own journey. Thank you very much.
Why? Thank you, Hiba. What a journey, really. You know, she gave us an overview regarding the tradition Jewish of the Druze women in the society. And one of the sentences she mentioned when she spoke about Dumia, she said that in her society they said, look, see what happens to a girl who studies.
Yes.
And now I am asking you, look what happens to a girl who studied. Bravo. And Mabruk. Mabruk. You must be very, very את בטוחה, אני בטוחה שאת מאוד מאוד שמחה לראות את הבת שלך עומדת במחצר, מדברת, וכל הכבוד לכם. Really a journey. And the last speaker, but not least, my dear friend, Dr. Falah, who really is a great woman. As I told you, she is very much involved in our